Welcome, friends. You are listening to this week's episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic with me, Michelle Walters, and my podcast pal, Cinthia Varkevisser. We are excited today because we have a guest. We haven't had a guest in a couple weeks, and so we are really excited to be here with our friend, Jana Marie Toutolmin. Award-winning author Jana Marie Toutolmin, known as the Catalyst for Clarity, empowers women in leadership worldwide. Founder of the Crystal Clear coaching program, she combines science, technology, and spirituality in her revolutionary Crystal Clear technique to help clients overcome core challenges and unlock their highest potential. With 38 years in medical and graduate education, mentoring over 15,000 students, Jana now dedicates her expertise in guiding 1 million women to lead with integrity, compassion, and conviction. She lives with her husband of 28 years among the redwoods of Northern California. Welcome, Jana Marie.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Cynthia. I'm thrilled to be here with you girls.
So, Ms. Jana Marie, I've had the pleasure of having a few connection calls with you and really getting in on that spiritual level. And I love that before we got on here, we talked about frequencies as well as angelic readings and messages. Right now, I just want to go on the angelic side. I don't like saying I'm a recovering Catholic, but I do have Catholic background. And I have a mild Catholic aversion, which means that there's still a little bit of a funny thing that happens in my stomach when we talk about anything that has to do with angels. Part of it is because I was brought up that we don't have a direct connect with higher source, right? And so I'm still working at this tender age, still working through that. I would love for you to talk to us about angels, how they work with you, and how I can get away or move beyond this the aversion.
Sure, I understand. I hear that a lot. And since the calling came to me from, I didn't know where, just voices start telling me, leave your job, come work for us. I'm like, who are you? Where are you? What is going on? and discover that it is the angelic realm. And so there is a realm called the seraphim who have come now to earth in the last 20 years or so. They have the power of love, just love, love, love at the highest level. And so to answer your question about aversion like that, angels are in every religion. So if you go and look in historically, even in the Bible, there's angels everywhere. They're messengers of the highest power. So I have found, even when I was working with Les Brown, I asked him, when you say God, what happens, when you're trying to, do your pitches and talk to people about this. And he says, you lose about 80% of your audience. And I thought, wow, okay, that's interesting. And so what he explained is you have to reach in at a deeper level for people, right? I mean, everyone has some kind of spiritual something going on. And so for you, it's this aversion about the angels. So I don't know what you were told about angels. I was raised Catholic and told that we had angels and I could talk to them anytime I wanted to. So I grew up with that. And then when it came, I was shocked and surprised that I was hearing something, actually hearing it, as opposed to just feeling it in my heart and having a childhood belief, right? So one of the things in my coaching program I do is go and address all these things that you were told as a child, whether it be religious or spiritual or beliefs about yourself, that aren't true anymore. I mean, you're not 5 anymore. Now you're whatever age you are. And we have to grow up that child to the current time to understand what we know now, as opposed to what you knew then. And so that's how I would help you integrate that, is to bring it together. And let's find out what you were believing then and why it's confusing to you now, and then discover who you really are. What do you want to believe? What do you feel is right for you spiritually? A lot of people aren't, well, I would say more and more people are now trying to tune in because they're hearing about frequencies and what they mean. I mean, everything's a frequency. Even behind you in your background, that's all frequency, right? And the angels are just another frequency. God's a frequency, Buddha's a frequency. Paramahansa Yogananda was a person and now a frequency. Ascended masters. I mean, there's lots of ways to look at frequencies. And what I like to do is upgrade your internal operating system. And so people who are willing and open to it, I think it's fantastic because you can communicate with your angels. You have spirit guides. There's a whole lot of spirit on the other side that wants to help you. And all you have to do is tune in, and everybody can do it. Like, what I do isn't really special. I just studied it and perfected my communication and the connection. And now I can do that. You can do it. Michelle can do it. Anybody can. It just takes some studying and practice. And of course, meditating, which people go, oh, meditate. I don't want to meditate. I can't meditate.
Yeah, that's why I hypnotize people.
Exactly.
Easier. I find it easier.
Yes, if you can be in it, even in some like trance-like state, in some way, then you can slow everything down so that you can actually make the connection. Does that help or answer your question, Cinthia?
Well, yes. So I
Good.
I like to use the vibe, right? So I totally vibe with the word frequencies, which because vibe frequency is the same thing. And so to hear that, angels are just a different vibe, then it's good, right? Because then there's no name. It's just a vibrational value. So
exactly right. Right.
And
yeah, because
so
like our devices. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. You're fine.
Well, like as your devices, right? You have an iPad and you have an iPhone and you have a Mac. Not you. Let's say I have a Mac and an I this and an I that and an I whatever. Whatever you have, it's a device, and they're all just hooked up on a frequency. So whether you speak to Buddha or God or the angels or Metatron, an ascended master, or you just look up and speak, spirit will hear you. The universe is always on your side. And the other real important point that I learned and I love is the universe always says yes. And so how you speak makes a difference. So what you want to do is put everything in a positive sense, right? So I saw this lady at 7-Eleven buying a lottery ticket. And as the lady handed it to her, the lady takes the ticket from her hand and she says, well, I'm not going to win anyway. And me, being the Budinsky I am, I said, excuse me just a second. Do you realize what you just said? You just told the universe that you're not going to win anyway. So the universe looks down and goes, well, she's not going to win. She doesn't even want to win, right? So that's a vibe. That's a frequency. She sent that frequency straight up to the universe. Instead of saying, I'm going to win, I have a huge chance of winning. And so the universe only says yes. It doesn't say no. So everything you say, you have to put it in that format.
You have to put everything in the positive format.
Yeah. So when the universe has a chance to answer, it says, yes, yes, I see what you want.
Well, and right? I teach people this as well. I teach it from the perspective of hypnosis. And, even like, I agree with you ladies, like, and I'm not as woo as you get, but I'm kind of on the woo side of things. But what I have also realized in my studying of just the brain and the way we are physically wired, we are wired to think about and believe in the things that, the ideas and, words that we use in our heads. So, I teach a class about hypnosis. And one of the things I say is, you got to think about what you want, not what you don't want. And so when I tell people, if I say pink elephant, do not think of a pink elephant. Whatever you do, don't think about it. Everybody thinks of a pink elephant because we're wired to do that. And so, and I was saying to somebody just yesterday, I was talking about about a friend of mine. And I'm like, well, I think she's decided she can't find a man. She's decided it's impossible. If you've decided it's impossible, it's pretty much impossible.
Impossible.
The only way to open that door is to believe the door opens,
Right. Exactly right. There's so many frequencies in everything we do. I mean, how you're aligned every day when you wake up, how are you aligning yourself with the day? Because there's all these frequencies going on around you. If you go to a job where there's like a brick and mortar place and there's people around you, if that person had a bad night or a bad day, that's all over them. And it's easy to pick it up if you're not, paying attention to what's going on around you. But, empathy, trust, the why me, why me, Lord, oh, why me? Your body has a frequency, energy is a frequency, empathy, the angel wisdom. I mean, all of it, everything is a frequency. And once you understand the depth of what that is, and especially in the brain, like with emotional fluidity, when I started working at UCSF, I was only 17, 18 years old at the time. And Mike Stryker came up with emotional fluidity and how the brain, how you can change your mind. And he started, like getting into all of this. And I mean, I was so excited to be working with neuroscientists at the time because I love the brain. I mean, I
I would
love
have thought that was
everything
a fun
about how
job
the brain
too.
works. Yeah, it was very cool. And so, I followed along, all the years that I was there, with all these scientists and all the discoveries along the way. But yeah, I would have been a neuroscientist if I had a different path. But this was the one I'm on because I had my calling, and here I am. This is it. It's what I do.
Here you are. I'm
Yeah.
going to remind all of our listeners that we are Mind Power Meets Mystic. I am Michelle Walters here with my co-host Cinthia Varkevisser, and our guest today is Jana Marie Toutolmin, who is the Catalyst for Clarity coach. I want to ask a little bit more about these angels and get
Okay.
a better sense of what they do. And I understood from what you were saying before that sometimes maybe they come in and directly help your clients, and sometimes they're really helping you to help your clients. Is that fair to say? What
It
kind
is.
of help? And I heard they're all about love, but like
Right.
maybe an example would help, Jennifer.
Right. Okay. So I call it divine guidance from the angelic realm. Okay. And so both of the things you said are true. So the angels do come through me and provide information and guidance. So when I tune into that frequency, when I'm working with someone who wants to speak and get direct communication, then I what I would do is say to the person, do you have any questions for your angels or your spirit guides? And they'll say, oh yes, was I adopted? Or whatever question they want to have. So the one thing about let me start with the angels. So they have one rule, and the rule is that they have to leave you to your free will. So they can't intervene in your free will. However, if you're about to die and it's not your time, they can save your life. Okay. So I've been plucked a couple of times, like, when I could have been dead a couple of times, and they saved my life. And I know it was something out of the blue. I was driving near a lake late at night, coming home from my grandmother's house, and I fell asleep at the wheel. And what happened is somebody grabbed me from the back. I'm alone in my car, and somebody grabbed me from the back of my hair and pulled my head back, and like whiplash, pulled my head back. I opened my eyes, and I was like this close to driving into Lake Merced, where I lived. And someone else, or whatever, whoever, took the wheel and turned the wheel like this. And so I went back over the curb and onto John Muir Drive. And I was awake for like 3 days after that. My adrenaline was just like, I knew, because it's 11 o'clock at night. Had I driven in that lake, nobody goes in that lake. It's just a bunch of toolies out there and people fish. So maybe my car would have floated to the top sometime, but I would have been missing for a long, long time. So that was a strange experience. And that's when I realized, wow, there is like something so much bigger. And another time, the big earthquake in San Francisco, I was in an elevator. And when the earthquake happened, and so the elevator kind of went, up, down, up, down. We heard this big boom and a big blast, lights went out. And I was the person who, how people are when you get in an elevator, the last person who sneaks in backwards with their nose up to the door, right? Because it's 5 o'clock and everybody's trying to leave work. And that's me. So there I am with my nose to the door. And when the earthquake happened, the elevator stopped, and it kept bouncing and bouncing. And when it stopped, somebody took my hands and put them between, how the door is with the rubber there, took my hands with these long nails and stuck it in the rubber and opened the doors. Okay. Wow. Now I do not have the strength to do that. There's no way I could do that. My hands just reached up and opened the doors. And then the earthquake happened, like the big shake. And it shot us out of the elevator, like out of one of those little things that you shoot candy out of.
Yes.
Yeah, Pez.
Pez
And
dispensers.
all of us were shot, like 25 people shot out of the elevator door, like out of a Pez, candy out of a Pez. And so, those are two experiences that I had where I know something else took over and it wasn't me. So when you have the experience, then people who've never had an experience like that are like, it sounds a little fishy to me. And, a lot of eye rolling. And it's like, I know what happened to me. And so it helped me to learn to stand in my truth, and not only about that, but everything else. Right. So it really changed my life, like drastically, when I realized that. So the angels have the power to help, but they also have the power to guide. And the other important thing is they can't do their job. So their job on the other side, they're messengers of the universe, God, higher power, source, Elohim, whatever you want to call the higher source power. They're messengers. And I mean, all of it can't be done by one person. I mean, how would that even be possible, right? It's hard to multitask as a human. And so the angels, what they do is they partner up with us so that we can do our job down here by helping them do their job from up there. So really, for me, it's a partnership. And that's what I try to tell people who question it. It's not just like I have some gift. I mean, I studied about this, I was contacted, I'm now in this frequency, I can operate from this frequency, and I can help guide others in this partnership I have to help you get your own partnership. I mean, I want you to have this too.
Right.
And I don't teach it, but I kind of do, just by what I say and do. People can learn to tune into that frequency. Does that answer your question, Michelle?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay, good.
Tell us a little bit about your books. You
Mm.
have a couple of books. Tell us about what are the names of the books? What's in the books? Why would people want your books?
Oh, because they're brilliant.
Well, they
So,
are, Jana Marie. But
yes, of course.
let's find what's gonna help somebody listening to this today go, gotta check out that book.
Yeah, I'm really excited because you're talking about what you're doing is you've expanded your work, and we're talking about angelic work to frequency work. And so the thing that I love is you're speaking my language now, right? You've been speaking other people's language, and now you're speaking mine, which means that you've just broadened your thing. So I'd love to hear more about the two books that you have, right? So
Yes.
And the what you have in common, right? What
Yes,
from one
thank
to
you
the
for
other.
asking. Yeah, it was really difficult for a very long time, like the last, say, 10 years, of trying to integrate spiritual and working with women in leadership, right? To stand in their truth. Like, how do I combine those two things without offending either other side? How am I going to do that? And this is when standing in my truth had to really come to fruition at the highest level. And I finally stepped into it. And it is, I do what I do, and I know what I'm doing. And, Dolly Parton says, find your purpose and do it on purpose. And it's like, yes, okay, finally I got here. And so now at this, the ripe age that I am, I have a lot of wisdom to share. Mentoring students, for almost 40 years. I mean, I heard every story there was possible, and I loved it. And I was always operating from my heart and really caring about them, which I think made it fun for me and successful for them also. So about my books. Okay, so first is The Authorities, which is a series of books from leaders on particular subjects. So this book I share with Les Brown, Bob Proctor, Marcy Shimoff, and Raymond Aaron. And I'm speaking about mastering your frequencies to have the life you desire. And so in this chapter, I'm talking about every frequency. So, frequency of being stuck, the frequency of why me, the frequency of empathy, the frequency of alignment, the frequency of, especially the why me. I got to go back to the why me, because that's pretty much where a lot of people sit. Why did he break my heart, right? Why did you do that to me? And the why other people always did it to them puts them in the victim category. And once you're in the victim category, it's very difficult to get out because you always think it's somebody else's fault. And that's when I teach that life happens for you, not to you. So that's a whole nother, probably a whole nother book, really. But if you look at everything as if it's happening for you, what lesson am I learning here? And stop blaming other people, you can get through life a lot faster with a much more clear alignment on, all your frequencies, right? And
Right.
so I had to learn to heal my broken heart and grief, which happened very young for me. And I was stuck for a long, long time, just numb. Now I was having time in my life. I mean, I thought life was just a big party. And then around 35, which is when it's supposed to happen, that you get, like, why am I here? What am I doing? What's my purpose? When that happened, I got my first mentor. And then she started working me through all this. And so having a mentor or having a coach is just life-changing, because you need someone to take you out of your own box. You just sit in your own stuff all the time. And if no one can, poke the bear, and you're not willing to be poked, then you're going to be stuck. That's it, the way it is, right? So the other book I have, which will be coming out in 2025, this one's called The Catalyst for Clarity. And this is when I'm really speaking more deeply to women in leadership and the problems that they're having. Like I said, I don't think I said it live, but I mentioned that what I find with a lot of women who were very, very successful working in leadership positions, I've questioned them, like, what is the hot mess underneath? What is the hot mess under the success? What is going on here? And I find things like a broken heart that they've never ever healed, but they don't even know it. And just like it was for me. And so, like a magnet, you're always attracted to the person who you're going to need, right? The universe will lead you to the right person. And so I get people with a lot of broken hearts who are in leadership positions who they've never fixed it, healed it, dealt with it. They did exactly what I did, was, go sit on that river in Egypt called denial. And I sat there for a very long time. And so I'm referring a lot to the secret frequencies that you have, that you can tap into to master your life and have the life you actually desire. Because women in leadership, I find, they can't get along with their coworkers, like the woman at the top. Like, whoever likes the woman who's running the show, or the person who's the in charge of the money, the controller, right? Oh, she's awful. Well, she acts like it's her money. I mean, I've heard like all these stories from other women talking about women at the top, and I want women to support each other. I mean, in this time, we're in the feminine energy now on our planet. And finally, after thousands of years of being in the male energy, so now that we're here, women need to take over, but they need to take over with integrity, and they need to take over standing in their truth and healing what needs to be healed, so they can be fabulous leaders in the future. So that's what I'm looking at. Not only women who are already successful that are the hot mess, but ones who are coming up. Like, don't be a hot mess. Like,
Don't be a
arrive.
hot mess. I think
Don't
we're
be a
going to
hot
have
mess.
to leave it there.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being on our podcast today, Jana Marie. We really appreciate you and hearing more about your books and your guides and all of that great stuff. So thank you, and bye for now.
Okay.
And it stopped recording. Oh, hang on.
Mine says it's still recording.
It's still recording.